The Green City Startup is an initiative of the City of Joburg in collaboration with the University of Johannesburg and Resolution Circle. This initiative was started with innovative green entrepreneurs in mind, those with ideas in building, energy, water, transport and waste. And this is the Green City Startup Show. On the show this week, we learn about the Rea Vaya depot in Meadowlands, west of Soweto. We receive expert advice from Inquisition. We visit the Origin Center at Wits, and we sit with Khomotso Pue, founder of Soweto Tours, on the big interview. Hello and welcome to the Green City Startup Show. My name is Janice Griever, joining you today for the very first time, and I'm here to give you an update of all things happening in the Johannesburg green entrepreneurial space. Please do interact with us on all our social media platforms. You can find us on Facebook at The Green City Startup and on Twitter at The GC Startup. We'd love to hear from you. For our feature story, we visit the Rea Vaya depot in Meadowlands, west of Soweto. We sit down with the representatives from PO Trans, the company responsible for Phase 1A of the BRT system, and we chat to them about some of the challenges they face as well as the benefits they provide to the community of Johannesburg.
The company is a bus operating company in the Rea Vaya system. This is the first company when we started the system. It's called the Phase 1A. So it's 100% owned by the taxi industry. We operate the system from Soweto to town. From what we've heard from most of the commuters is that they used to leave around 5 o'clock in the morning, but now they can afford to leave around 6:45, 7 o'clock, but they are always on time when they get to work because of the dedicated lanes. So they feel that now they can spend more time with their families and they don't have to spend hours on the road. It's a benefit for the people of Soweto because we're transporting close to 50,000 commuters. And you might find that there are queues, but when you ferry them, you find that we're taking more numbers. And what they are saying is it's cheaper. And they don't have to do the interchanging. Once they are collected from the routes and they get into the trunk, they go straight to town. They buy the smart card and they load it. Once it's loaded, then you can board the bus. They don't have to pay cash, and they can still use that card, when they want to buy things at various shops. So they can still use that card. Most of the commuters have taken the smart card. The city has their cell phones, so when they need to communicate, they communicate direct with them. But when they get to the stations, then you do have information centers, and at the top you can actually see where it's written. It tells you as to when the bus is going to arrive. If the bus is delayed, you will get that information to say the bus is actually delayed by 5 minutes or so. So you do get that information.
This savers is helping a lot of people because our buses, this is like the transport, the cheapest transport there is. I mean, someone is now able to travel from Protea to Cresta at 520, 580. That's like, hey, come, let's ride the bus for free. I wish every person out there can understand that these buses are meant for them.
Overall, very happy about the service. It's quite busy, like around 6 to 8 a.m. and as well as around like 4 o'clock in the afternoon. But I understand because it's peak hour.
The Rea Vaya stop is right outside where I stay on Bayesnovia. And I come to the Mission Church over here and it stops right outside the Mission Church. That's a blessing from God. Thank you, Ria Vaya.
The Ria Vaya is very safe. I like it. It's very convenient and they're always on time and they never disappoint any of their users.
Piotrans has about 147 buses. Now we have another company which is Phase 1B, and they are having 137 buses. So all in all, we have about 277 buses that are operating right now. And I understand that the city is busy with Phase 1C, which will go up to Sentin. And it means there will be more coverage in terms of the system.
If you liked that story, you can find more videos on our website, www.TheGreenCityStartup.co.za. And if you're a startup yourself, you'll find that there's a wealth of information to help you get your business going. Speaking of which, here's Brandon with some hints and tips.
In today's hints and tips, I'll be looking at a frequently asked question. Can you do business with friends? Now the answer is yes, but follow some guidelines put together by Unreasonable. I'll be focusing on 4 points, so be sure to check out the full article on their website. Firstly, communicate, communicate, communicate. Now in general, this is essential, but even more so when working with friends. The problem is that when we work with friends, we tend to avoid confrontation, which seems good in the short run, but in the long run, it is a recipe for disaster. One-on-one calls, weekly meetings, and occasional trips together should be considered. This way, tension, gratitude, concerns, and personal goals can be addressed. Secondly, vest your ownership. It may seem logical to evenly split the ownership amongst all the friends, but that doesn't usually end so well, especially when one of the partners decides to take on another job a year down the line. This will likely ruin the friendship and possibly the business. Instead, vest your equity over a 4-year period and implement a 1-year cliff, which means that partners who leave the business within a year won't receive any equity. In short, vesting means the longer that the partners remain a part of the business, the more equity they are entitled to. Next, ensure that all the partners' motivations are aligned. Having a motivated team is great, but do you all have the same end goal in mind? If not, you will work against each other and there is no doubt that the business will fall apart. This goes back to point 1, communicate and make sure everyone is on the same page. Lastly, if you plan to live in the same house as your business partners, don't do it for too long. It may be fun when starting a new business because everyone can be in the same mind space, but have an exit strategy in mind. In other words, set up time before you plan on moving out. For example, 6 months or a year. Let's sum that up. Maintain constant communication, vest your ownership, align your motivations, and finally, don't live together for too long. That's all for hints and tips. You can find more on our social media pages. On Facebook, it's The Green City Startup, and on Twitter, at The GC Startup. Engage with us. We're looking forward to it. Until next time, keep focused.
Learning from others through mentorship and training is often one of the overlooked keys to success. We had a chat with one of our entrepreneurial trainers, and this is how it went.
Hey, this is Talking with Tutors, and we have Ntiki talking to us today. How you, girl?
I'm good, how are you?
Good. We're talking about problems, the problems that entrepreneurs see, and they make a business to solve these problems. But what is a problem?
A problem is literally just looking at your community or wherever it is that you work and identifying gaps in the market that you can solve through a business, a product, an idea, service, whatever it may be, or just re-engineering something that's already done. So finding a new way, a more efficient way to do something that people have already been doing.
And where do I find these problems though?
I think the first thing is to remember that we live in a global world, so a problem can literally be absolutely anywhere. So you can look at your community, the way you travel to work, maybe once you're at work, the places you shop, the places you engage with friends, anywhere you go. Maybe it's something that you already use and you're just like, actually this thing is a lot of admin, and if I could do it this way, it would be a lot easier. And so goes the business and the idea of solving something.
But some problems to some people, it's a need, some it's a want. What's the difference between these needs and these wants that we have?
Yeah, I think we all know this, like basic NS, EMS, that kind of stuff we did in school. But a need is just like something you can't go without. You know, so when you're thinking about people, it's food, it's shelter, it's clothing, it's the basic provision stuff that even if I don't have money at the end of the month, I will make a plan to make a way to make sure I can afford your service or your product. But a want is something I desire. You know, like I feel like it. Maybe it's like an add-on to my shopping list. I don't really need it to survive, but I would like to have it. And I think when you think about your business and how it serves the market, that's something very important to take into account.
So it's like chocolate can sometimes be a want.
Chocolate is always a want. Unless you're supplying like a coffee manufacturer, then it might be something different.
That's so true.
Yeah.
So let's say you and I start a business, you want to start a hair salon. How do I make sure that the business that we have solves the problem that we have identified?
But I think you might see this as well. Sometimes you have a great idea, and to you this idea has to work, right? Because it sounds cool to you, it sounds fabulous, and you've gone the whole way of thinking about everything in between, and you have the bells and whistles, but you don't really stop to think about, does this serve a community or does it actually solve a particular problem? And if it does, do people really want to use it? You know, like, yes, it's great, I can have this kind of cover instead of that one, but do I really need like a waterproof cover or something like that? So really asking yourself is, if I introduce this product, this service, this particular experience to people, would it make a difference in their lives? And if it does, are they prepared to pay for it? And those are things you need to ask yourself. And I think a lot of the times when you're really excited about something, you skip over all of that. And you're just like, guys, use this, it's fabulous.
And can you think of any practical ways that when we want to do this market research, that we can do it to find out what the problems are and will people pay for it, etc.?
I think anything about a business, you know, you go and you ask the people. It's as simple as that. If I want to open a hair salon, like you said, and we pick this particular corner, you know, how sure are we that people traveling past this corner need a hair salon?
Exactly.
So we just go to that corner, we stand there, we ask people, like, if there was a salon here, would you come? You know, what kind of hairstyles would you want to do? How often would you like to come? How much are you prepared to pay for it? You know, would you come here because it's easier for you to travel? Is it on your way home, on your way to work? Like, why are people buying from this corner instead of the next one? And as you ask some questions, you'll find that other questions pop up, because then maybe new problems pop up in how you would actually solve the problem. And that's really not the way to go about it. So the more questions you ask, the more answers you get, and the more people you interact with, the better you can understand if your solution to the problem or the perceived problem is actually a thing. I also just think asking people if the problem's actually a problem, because maybe in your mind you're like, I need a bridge here because I'm too lazy to walk around, and everybody else is like, actually we don't mind walking around, it's perfectly fine, I need the extra exercise anyway. So I think asking those questions sort of helps to paint the picture for you.
Sure, perfect. Thank you so much, Ntiki. This was so
Thanks.
cool. We hope you guys learned something with us here with Talking with Tutors.
We still have a lot lined up for you on the show today. Still to come is Khomatsapue on the big interview, and we visit the Origin Center at WITS. There's also some expert advice coming from Inquisition right after the break. Welcome back. Connect with us on our Facebook page, The Green City Startup, and on Twitter at The GC Startup. We'd love to interact with you if you have any feedback, any questions or comments. Remember to log on to our website, www.TheGreenCityStartup.co.za, to keep up to date with all the entrepreneurial matters in and around the city of Joburg. Next, Charlotte from Inquisition gives us some entrepreneurial advice.
Hi. In the first video, we discussed the outcome of design, which is to leave a lasting positive impact on the world, and introduced you to the design process. Today, we'd like to give you 3 questions that will guide your design thinking. When designing, we talk about applying the lens of a designer, the lens being a way to look at something. There are 3 lenses which we apply in our design process. 1. Does your idea solve an actual problem? In other words, does it fulfill unmet needs for the people you want to design a product for? 2. Is your solution feasible? Do you have the skills and resources to bring this idea to life? 3. Lastly, is this project viable? Is it backed by a sound business model? Is it defensible? And is there enough of a market to warrant its creation? Be sure to visit our website for more interesting information that might help you with your startup. Thanks for watching.
It's easier to be sustainable when you have an appreciation of where you came from. We visited the world-class Origin Center at Wits University to gain a better understanding of the roots of mankind.
The Origin Center tells a story about deep history, and it's really about the dawn of time. And that word, paleosciences, that Latin word really is a word to describe this material that is researched by some of the top scientists in the world who are located in this corner of the university in the Evolutionary Sciences Institute, in the Rock-Art Researchers Institute, and in the Center of Excellence. So they're the scientists and the academics who underpin the story that is told in this, the Origin Center, which we're standing in the South African Museum of Rock Art. Welcome to the Origin Center. We're in the first exhibition area, and you're looking at a piece of sculpture of the globe with Africa in the center. It's woven in metal with copper, and it's produced by Walter Altman, who's an artist, one of many artists whose works can be seen in the museum, and he's based at Wits University. So what he's representing is the centrality of Africa in the story of origins. And the copper lines that run through the piece are showing the movement of humanity from 1 million years ago, 200,000 years ago, and the museum tells the story of migration out of Africa. It's a working museum, and it's part of a cluster of the 13 collections and museums on the university campus. And this is one of the museums that had significant investment 10 years ago. So it's accessible to the public. The story about early origins of hominids in the cradle, we deal with that in the museum. We also have a site with 2 gardens. It has a Kalahari garden and a Drakensberg garden. So there's an opportunity to experience the natural dimension to the story of origins. The advent of the city sightseeing bus has been very important for the Origin Center. The majority of our visitors are Johannesburg residents and then school children, but we get tourists from 40 different countries, and they're able to get here now with great ease on the city sightseeing bus. And they're also able to visit Origins and see it in the context of Johannesburg. We're very high above sea level, and we're almost at the highest point here. And the building is located on the watershed. And if you look north, you're looking into the Indian Ocean Basin. And if you look south, you're looking into the Atlantic Ocean Basin. So, and we're on the Witwatersrand. It's the University of the Witwatersrand. And if you look at the logo of the badge of the university, it has these waves of water. And so referring to the springs that emanate from the base of this hilltop on which we're located. So the story of Johannesburg really is a three-part story, and greater Johannesburg, not just only Johannesburg. And so it's the story of that seam of gold that runs along more or less just, a kilometer from where we are. And it runs from many hundreds of kilometers east-south. So there's the story of gold, and therefore the story of labor and capitalism along that line. And then if you go south, the most important story is the story of resistance, the story of oppression of black South Africans, the story of townships in Soweto. And then if you go north, it's the story of origins. You go out to the cradle and you're going to have this very, very deep history. So if you frame Origin Centre at the centre of this geography, then you can start to make sense of Johannesburg as a place. And so I think that's really why it's not only is it Origins as a beginning of things, but it's also Origins, the centre, geographically located on this hill.
To see more interesting stories like that one, and I'm going to drill this website into your mind until it stays, visit www.TheGreenCityStartup.co.za. Now next we have our interview, Pwina's interview rather, with Khomotso Pue, founder of So We Too Tours, on The Big Interview.
Joining me in studio, we have an entrepreneur who's bringing adventure to Soweto. We have the co-founder of Soweto Outdoor Adventures, Khomotso Pue. Welcome to the show, Khomotso.
Itaola.
Khomotso, please tell us, what is your business?
Well, basically our businesses are bringing adventure activities into the township, from quad biking to paintballing to go-karting to boot camps to Soweto Amazing Race. And this year, September, we'll be introducing some other activities which will also be water featured. So yeah, basically it's just township adventure.
Sure. And does this fall under tourism in South Africa?
Yes, it does. In reality, what it is actually anybody that comes from outside of Soweto to me is a tourist to Soweto. So we're basically looking at South Africans and international people. Even if you're from Pretoria and you come into Soweto, you are still a tourist to Soweto. So people come from all walks of life, from the likes of Mpumalanga, from Limpopo, just to have a taste of what it is that we've brought into this particular township space. Sure.
And what does tourism look like in South Africa at the moment?
Tourism in South Africa currently looks actually quite good. Based on the dollar, pound and euro exchanges, it's favorable to the South African market and tourism businesses here. And most importantly, I think it's that South Africans and Soweto, in essence, the entrepreneurs that have come out, have created packages that are actually tangible things that people want to engage with.
Sure. And so what does Soweto as a tourist site now offer more than the other tourist locations that we have?
There is no township like Soweto. Soweto is not a township, it's a city on its own. So when you understand how a city is constructed and built, the people of Soweto have taken ownership of that tourism space. Look at Vilakazi Street. Look at every space that you see tourists going into within Soweto. Restaurants are popping up. There's even a house that does snake shows in Soweto. Wow. So to understand the levels where people have now taken the entrepreneurship skill and plowed it into that particular space. There's even a market, a low crate market in Soweto. No neighbor goods, no, we've got that in Soweto, you know what I mean? So there isn't anything that Sowetans can't do. They've taken that ownership, they've taken the entrepreneurship spirit within themselves and have made that. Now understand that historically, Soweto is a township that was born from the big gold era. Sure, yeah. So everybody that came to there were laborers and workers who came into a city. And now we are laborers and workers in the same city making Soweto what it is today.
Sure. And are big enterprises recognizing the potential and the growth that has happened in Soweto?
Look at me now. The truth of the fact is that big enterprises like South African Breweries, the Hans Dreamer campaign, have launched us and taken small businesses and said, you guys have become and created businesses that are so innovative that we need to applaud you. If you're different, you're passionate, and you're driven about what it is that you're doing, the accolades will follow. Truth be told, 2014 is the only year that our business did not win any awards. From 2011, 2012, 2013, and 2015, and 2016. The only reason in 2014 we didn't win an award is because I'd moved and I was starting another business in Cape Town. For the whole year, the focus had changed into another project. But the reality of fact is, we are out there daily creating opportunities. We're out there daily creating activities and tangible things that people can take home with them.
And this spirit of entrepreneurship that you have, is it there in the youth of today?
Yes, it is. But it's more about instant gratification. It's all about start something, I want my range, start something, I want my port, start something, I want my weave. You know what I mean? So business is not instant gratification. You got to plow it in. You got to sweat it out. Yeah. You know what I mean? If you get into business thinking you're going to make it within 6 months, forget it. Sure. Forget it. You're in it for the long haul, not the paycheck, the long haul. Yeah. If you deliver for your business, the rewards will come. We only started seeing real rewards, a real turnaround for my business, basically into 2012. Yes, we're doing what we're doing, but the relative fact is that we only started getting recognized officially and properly by mass market within 2012. That's 2 years.
Sure. And one last word to that one individual out there who's burning with a passion for entrepreneurship and doesn't know where to start.
Where to start? Start by walking. Sure. One step every day. Rome was not built overnight. No house is built without a foundation. One brick at a time. Pressa, pusha, panda. Sure. Ain't nobody gonna do it for you. Take that step.
Thank you so much, Khomotso. We've definitely learned a lot and we've definitely been inspired to go out there and just do it.
Thank you very much for having me. Itawala.
This is all from me, Puna Selesho, and our guest Khomotso Boe, right here on The Big Interview.
Next week in the Green City Startup, the competition progresses as we bring you more profiles, hints and tips from Brandon, and of course we get to introduce you to some pretty inspiring entrepreneurs in the Big Interview. And that's where we leave things for this week, so until next time, goodbye.